our rage. Brutal, without mercy. But you will be worse. Rip and tear until it is done.
Fuck you. I didn't realize it at the time, but 2016 was one hell of a year for video games, especially if we're talking about the shooter genre. I mean, we had Titanfall 2, Battlefield 1, Garden Warfare 2, fucking Overwatch, and 2 Call of Duties to compensate for one being arse. Which it wasn't even that bad, by the way. They could never make me hate you, Infinite Warfare. And bundled in between all of those heaters, Bethesda and their enormous ballsacks somehow successfully revitalized the all-time classic Doom into a reimagined modern-day arena shooter that can compete with the modern established titles already mentioned. I'm not going to pretend to give too many shits about the original, as I'm simply not unk enough to have played them in my youth, but I sure as hell can appreciate the impact and influence that Doom had on video games as a whole. On paper, the idea is ridiculous. Reimagine Doom in a way that is fun by the modern standard of FPS, whilst remaining faithful to the simplicity of the original, but not too simple so that it lacks any innovation. And by some miracle, Doom 2016 arguably granted another bar of HP to the dying genre of arena shooters. Upon replaying for this review, it truly is lightning captured in a bottle. They had to get this right on the first try, and I'd argue the result exceeded expectations considering all the competition during the year. But what was it that made Doom 2016 such a hit? Today, we'll be taking a look into the game's best features and appreciate the groundwork laid that allowed the following titles in Eternal and Dark Ages to succeed just as well as 2016. More so than any other element that is established early on, the tone is no doubt the standout, and Doom's tone is tricky to narrow down to any category such as sound, visuals, story, gameplay. Each area plays its part in pushing the same vibe, and that vibe would proceed to become the iconic staple of the series. From the violence and pure testosterone that comes with playing as a roided up soldier turned god who does all the talking with just his fists, the idea of being too angry to die and so brutal that using guns is considered mercy by your standards, to the cheeky but welcome sarcasm shared between Dr. Hayden and Doomguy's actions and body language.
Our interest in their world was purely for the betterment of mankind.
Are you sure about that?
You need to remove each lens individually. Carefully release the hinges.
Of course, a few of these details would only be revealed to the player through the lore and story, but it all comes together to deliver an undeniable rawness, adrenaline, and that meathead neuron activation that we all possess when presented with something so epic. The story is rather bare bones but fits with its gameplay's tone. The humans made an oopsie by opening a gateway to hell because they went too far with their research, and now it's your job to clean it up. And you're also going to do it your way, by nothing but brute force and little grace whatsoever.
Destroying the production of Argent energy isn't necessary. Carefully release the hinges.
As for gameplay, it's no doubt the brutality and gore shown in the dismemberment and glory kills. Doom isn't trying to disgust the player with its violence, as you are the culprit. No doubt, all of the tone that's conveyed in the visuals is heavily carried by the prominent red colour scheme. Sure, it's not permanent because that would get repetitive, but you're marching through Mars, slaying demons, so keeping the ocean of blood flooding the sky is an unmistakable aesthetic for the world. But without a doubt, the biggest carrier in Doom's tone is its sound design. But those of you who are familiar with the franchise, you already know I can't just speak on the sound in this subsection. It deserves its own chapter entirely. I'm sure we're all familiar with the joke that Doom is simply a Mick Gordon album release with a bonus video game attached, and I struggle to recall this being just as much of a case in any other video game out there. It was actually my introduction to the series, mind you. I don't recall how I ended down the back alley of YouTube with the Eternal soundtrack stimulating my brain, but it says a whole lot that the soundtrack alone was enough to get me to purchase 2016 and Eternal. I'd even argue from a design standpoint that Doom's sound is its prized possession and greatest achievement. There is an entire culture built around the usage of mixed work in gym playlists, and how each track offers a special kind of adrenaline dump. By this point, I do view Eternal and 2016 soundtracks kind of just one long altogether album, but I unfortunately have to just pick at the few tracks and standouts during this rendition. Where Doom stands out with its soundtrack is not just simply in how it sounds or even how it's made. Heavy metal bass drops mixed with grinding gears and chainsaws all twisted into a genre of its own. All of that is excellent for casual listening, but during gameplay, the track placement and interactions during combat is unlike anything I've ever heard. The music guides the player and will increase intensity by initializing different and more intense songs during more action-packed segments. But activating a glory kill during these tracks has a subtle but special interaction. Whether it's splitting a demon in two or replenishing ammo with your chainsaw, the sound effect of the finisher will slot into the soundtrack rather than just playing over the top of it, effectively harmonizing the gameplay and allowing your actions in combat to match the flow of the song. And often these glory kill sounds will combine with the track at the most unexpected times to lead into the next bar of the song. So unlike most shooters that will simply have the music playing in the background, Doom makes it feel as though this music is playing out of Doom Guy's arse every time he goes on a tear. And even outside of the S tier soundtrack, the noises made by your attacks, weaponry, the demons, voice acting and ambience all follow a particular theme. You'll notice just how deep most of the sounds are. Almost everything has a bass frequency to match the soundtrack's heavy tone.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Samuel Hayden. I'm the head of this facility. I think we can work together and resolve this problem in a way that benefits us both.
In the first battle, when the shadows first lengthened, one stood, burned by the embers of Armageddon.
So as with the tone spoken of earlier, every part of Doom's sound is heavy and full force. It wants you to know that if you prefer less intense experiences, then this game just simply isn't going to be for you. I want to quickly start this section with another mention of the story, but not in the greatest light. Normally, I enjoy making a section surrounding the game's narrative, but only if it's a large highlight of the experience. I think Doom's story is serviceable at face value. What you are presented with is simple, but considering the game's length, the narrative is, in my opinion, often lost and easy to overlook compared to the gameplay. Now, when you indulge into the lore built around these games, then it no doubt becomes more interesting, but it feels as though it was designed in a way to progress the level design and chapters to match the gameplay pace, rather than portray a captivating story. Argent energy gets messed with, thus opening a gateway to hell. Dr. Olivia Pierce has become a servant of the invasion and needs to be stopped, so you wake up to fight off the demons and clean up the mess. You make some new buddies in the form of Vega and Hayden. You spend the game cleaning up and eventually destroying Pierce, but then at the end you are betrayed by Hayden and sent off into another dimension. That's it. The relationships and sarcastic comedy and banter from Vega and Hayden can only go so far, as the Doom guy is a silent protagonist. Dr. Pierce, in my opinion, is rather uninteresting and just a vessel for a boss fight, and that's fine. This franchise should never be too story driven. Anyway, moving on to the meat of this section, let's talk about the gameplay. 10 weapons to use from the iconic bottomless satchel trope, the pistol,
You suck!
combat shotgun,
He copied my whole fucking flow! Word for word, bar for bar!
heavy assault rifle,
Each and every day. As a valued employee, your loyalty is more than just a commitment to the UAC. It's a
super shotgun,
Yes.
plasma gun. I'm hoping I haven't missed any of the weapons. I don't know if it
Stay
lets you miss
focused.
them.
Stay committed.
Rocket launcher,
RPG?
ow, Gauss cannon, chain gun, BFG 9000,
GFG.
and the chainsaw. And on top of this vast selection are a number of alternative fire modes that can be switched to a different attachment for another fire mode, along with numerous upgrades to the performance via the upgrade system. This essentially provides you with an excessive number of combos in weapon attacks and ways to go about spending your upgrade points upon a replay. My personal favourite is the ever-efficient grenade launcher attachment for the combat shotgun. The burst fire attachment is also very fun, but that's the way most of these choices go. You either pick the conventionally effective alt fire, or you switch to the more fun option on the fly. The plasma rifle has one of the most satisfying alternate fire modes in its heat blast. You charge up the meter around your reticle for a close range radial blast that when it's upgraded will act as another powerful burst of damage in your weapon cycle. Or if you prefer utility, you can toggle to the stun bomb for radial electricity. If it isn't obvious, Doom is 100% a power fantasy game, as your options for combat are by no means limited during the story progression. Your level of power is rewarded with exploration as well, as taking time to find drones for weapon upgrades, stat upgrades for your suit, and trials to further your capabilities. Letting the player seamlessly toggle between multiple fire modes or certain weapons without any limitations is such an unnecessary addition among the abundance of weapons that Doomguy already holds. Even the basic combos of quick swapping between a super shotgun and the Gauss cannon for easy dispatch of tougher targets is more than enough to keep me entertained for a whole playthrough, but should you either crave variety or a replay, the game has you covered. And pretty much all of your available weapons are viable, with the pistol being the only real outlier. Moving on to the effects of all of your attacks and weapons, gameplay could only ever be as entertaining with satisfying consequences to your enemies. Doom's glory kill system is absolutely fantastic. Upon doing enough damage to a target, they will glow to signify an opening to perform a finisher, acting as mini fatalities with a variety of potential animations depending on the demon type and position that you engage them from. And skipping any glory kill opportunities to simply detonate a demon with ammunition is equally enjoyable. You know, as I write this script, I'm just now realizing how much of the development was put into the gameplay for the series. There's already so much fun to be had with the weapons and upgrade system, but that's barely scratching the surface. Whenever exploring the larger rooms before triggering the demons, if looking hard enough, you will find power-ups available to bolster your combat. The idea is that you time the activation of these power-ups with the arrival of larger demons to make quick work of them. Options in power-ups include haste for faster movement, invulnerability, quad damage, and the most iconic, berserk.
Guts. Huge guts.
Berserk essentially turns the Doomslayer into a lore-accurate version of himself, capable of tearing any demon apart with an instantaneous glory kill with his bare hands, and whilst doing so, he is completely invulnerable. In between the standard loop of power-ups, glory kills, mowing enemies down with ridiculously large weapons, the chainsaw, although limited in its charges, can instantly eliminate any non-boss target with enough fuel, and in doing so will drop a plethora of ammo. So despite the default difficulty not being overwhelming, you still have to manage your resources accordingly with the correct sequence of attacks. Tie this all together with a fluid movement system involving just air strafing, quick mantles, and the later unlocked double jump. Bare bones in practice, but considering the platform designs of each room, it's just fluid enough to warrant the game being somewhat of a movement shooter. Doom's gameplay is extremely impressive, and although not that old, holds up against not only the titles released in the same year, but even by the standards of modern shooters as well. But the gameplay is not the only design element that ages extremely well for 2016. Okay, yes, games looked good before 2016, okay? This isn't a mind-blowing point of discussion, but come on, man. This game is stunning, and I think it has a lot to do with the art direction outside of the fine-tuned graphics and details. Many missions will open with a breathtaking landscape to gaze upon. Maybe the red is a little bit repetitive, but adopting a red mist is the most logical way to convey just how fucked the situation has become. And despite that red hue being present, mainly to convey the fact that it's taking place on Mars, it feels more like an Earth glazed over by hell itself. And to be fair, the insides of the facilities take the opportunity to switch up the colour schemes with a frequent contrast of green, and the environment adopts changes in architecture throughout. I mean, what could possibly be more metal than traversing through the rotting carcass of a kaiju-sized demon? Keeping with distinct visuals, each demon's design allows the player to notice which are more threatening and worth using your heavy artillery on. My personal favourite standouts include the Hell Knights and the Barons of Hell. You know, you've got some badass enemy designs when I actually wish that we could have played as these, much like the mission in Eternal where you could play as the Revenant. And that's not even mentioning the bosses, mind you. The Cyber Demon, Hellguard, and Spider Demon all perform exceptionally well as the game's boss fights. And fuck do they look cool, dude. The Hell Knight in particular is a fascinating switch up though, as it's a demon mech suit controlled by a parasite. It is mechanical in function, but visually appears to be made of the same flesh and armor from other large demons. And I can't help but mention this, Doom 2016's Praetor suit is without a doubt visually my favourite looking from the series. The darker green full body coverage with that simple bulk and smooth armour, and something about the visor being less transparent to the point that you can't see Doom Guy inside is far more badass to me. As a design choice, it lines up perfect with his brutality. The guy is barely human considering his abilities, and the lack of a face in 2016 just lines up really well with the mystery. Doom 2016 is what truly re-kickstarted the franchise in a way that brought a whole new generation of gamers to the series. It's hard to imagine what the FPS genre would have looked like without the existence of the original, but also difficult to picture the scene without the frequent anticipation of the Doomslayer's next outing. The unapologetic brutality, over-the-top power scaling, exaggerated demonic apocalypse, and one-of-a-kind soundtrack all help to establish a new take on the world of Doom. In the current loop of every game receiving a remaster, it's nice to know that modern remakes that amplify the originals whilst building on top of the formulas can still succeed to the point of DLCs and prequels being warranted and successful at the same time. It's actually extremely difficult to find things to complain about or criticize. Bethesda shot and hit the target dead on, and I think they granted us an eventual all-time classic for the ages, or the Dark Ages. Anyway, if you've enjoyed today's essay, a like and a sub will go a long way in allowing me to continue to make these videos, and be sure to check out any of the previous reviews done on the channel as well if you're interested in more content like this. I appreciate you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.